everybody. So, just one announcement from me. Basically, today at 3:30, there's going to be a boys soccer game. It's going to be at Marina High School. So if you happen to live around there, just come up and support us because we really need fans. So
there's a lot of announcements, so keep them short. We also have a few guests. And basketball girls, flag pull after break. It'll take 2 seconds.
Basketball.
Or yeah, sorry, my bad.
All right, let's get ready to dance. I'm very excited today to introduce to you our new dance instructor who's joining the York community for Spring Health and Fitness. Her name is Mrs. Jill Feingold. She has 20 years of experience teaching dance, a BFA in dance from the Boston Conservatory. She's taught with the Boston Ballet, with the Joffrey in Chicago, and the Dana Academy High School back east in Massachusetts. And without further ado,
good morning, everybody. Thank you, and thank you so much for inviting me to your campus. I'm really excited about bringing dance to York. Very excited about bringing dance to York. As you just heard, my background is in a lot of classical ballet, but that's not what we're doing. So, boys, relax. Take a deep breath. I'm not here to train professional dancers. What I'm here to do is offer you guys a chance to use dance as a way for health and fitness. We meet on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons, and what we'll do is we'll take about 40-45 minutes each day, each time we meet. We'll do some stretching and some warming up with our bodies. I'll teach you the proper way to stretch so you don't get injured. Then we'll take some basic jazz technique. We're going to do jazz. I'm not a hip-hopper, I will admit that. I'm too old. So we won't be doing hip-hop, but we'll be doing jazz, the classical jazz that you would do in a studio in New York or in LA. And each week what we'll do is I'll take a piece of choreography and I will teach you the combination that I've created, and you guys can even put input, and then we'll create this big dance, and then maybe present it at the end of term, which would be a lot of fun. So jazz, twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Boys and girls are welcome, and I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you all sign up. Thank you.
One of the nice things about my job is getting to tell you about members of your community who have done good things. And we have just got the acceptances for the Monterey Jazz Festival High School Honor Band. And we have 5 people on the list. We have 3 people who have been accepted as alternates, and they are Lizzie Stanton, Quinn Murphy, and Nick Newman. And we have 2 people who are accepted as regular members of the High School Honor Jazz Band, Brendan Martin and Esteban Sanchez. So congratulations.
Great day at York School, opportunity to welcome some friends and some guests, introduce some people that you don't know. So let me make sure that you know one of our trustees, Mary Adams. Mary? And she has brought with us a new friend of the school, Mr. Aaron Scobie, who's the Vice President and General Manager of Univision. We have a longtime friend of the school, Ann Jealous here, and she's here, I think, in part because it is my pleasure to introduce you to York alumnus, President and CEO of the NAACP, America's oldest, largest civil rights organization. Proud graduate of York School, went to Columbia, was a Rhodes Scholar at Oxford, has been a community organizer, a newspaper writer and journalist, has been a foundation director, has worked for Amnesty International, and now works with NAACP in Washington and Baltimore, and has the chance to rub elbows with the president and with a lot of people who care about social justice in America and across the world. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you one of your own, Ben Jealous.
Good morning. It is good to see you guys. It's great to be here. It's really cool. There's so many people who taught me who are still here. Ms. Aoki, Mr. Murray, Mr. Fink, Mr. Tom, taking care of everything. Wow, and you still run. I was the slowest guy on the cross-country team. That's one of the beauties about York. You don't have to actually run fast to be on the cross-country team. So I had a bad race one day, and my girlfriend actually beat me. That was also a distinction. She was the fastest on the team. Look, I don't have much time to talk. I want to take some questions. I do want to talk to you guys just a little bit about some things happening here in California that are worth your attention. And I really want to encourage all of you who have sort of big dreams, you're 14, 15, 16 years old, sitting here, to pursue those dreams, not be afraid of them. Because when I was 13 years old and a freshman at York, a guy named Jesse Jackson started to run for president. And I decided that I wanted to be part of making a black person, a person of color, president, breaking the 200-something-year-old color barrier at the White House. And it took longer than we hoped in 1988. It took about 20 years. But we did it. And that started here for me at York. And it really got me started on what I'm doing now. I got some attention because we registered 1,000 people to vote, 4 or 5 York students working together. That got me noticed by the local congressman and got me my first job in Washington when I was 16 years old, Page. So the dreams that you dream now can carry you far, and you should really honor, respect them, and invest in them and run with them. But all of you are going to be coming out of here and going into college. In our state, if you're thinking about the UC system, the Cal State system, or any public university across this country, because it's similar in other states, our state has been over-investing in sending people to prison for 30 or 40 years and progressively under-investing in public universities. When I was a kid in the 70s and growing up in PG, our state spent 3% of its state budget on prisons and 11% on public universities. Now our state spends 11% on prisons and 7.5% on public universities. The bulk of that is nonviolent, low-level drug offenders. And we know in this state that it's 7 times more effective dollar for dollar to send them to rehab than to prison. But we send them to prison anyways, and when you get to UC Berkeley, or you get to Cal State Long Beach, or you find yourself paying higher and higher tuition, understand you're paying higher and higher tuition because less and less money is being spent by the state in supporting that school, because more and more of it's going to prison. Right now in California, coming up on the ballot this fall, will be a big opportunity to reform criminal justice here in a very significant way. Raise your hand if you heard of Troy Davis. And thank you if you sent an email or a tweet or a text. That case, by the way, was the #1 tweeted thing in the world after Beyonce's pregnancy. It was because of young people like you across the country who got outraged. This fall, your parents will be asked to make a decision about whether or not to abolish the death penalty in California. Understand that the only way that we can ever abolish the death penalty in a state like Georgia is if we abolish it in 10 other states first. We have to get a majority of states in the country to outlaw it, so that the Supreme Court will decide that it's both unusual as well as cruel and get rid of it. And we'll never be able to get Georgia to abolish it for themselves. So California is a critical first step. The death penalty is something in this country that is exclusively reserved for poor people. Over 95% of people on death row were too poor to afford their own lawyer. And that's why it disproportionately hits blacks and Latinos, because we are disproportionately poor. This fall, when this comes up for a vote, even though you can't vote, you can influence a lot of folks. You can influence your parents. You can influence your neighbors. You can get active with Amnesty. You can get active with the NAACP. And actually go out door to door and talk to folks about the need to vote to abolish the death penalty. Some of you may be concerned about public safety. You know, places like Salinas, Monterey, Seaside, Marina. When I was a kid, we certainly had our share of shootings and kind of bad things happen. Right before I took this job, I had one of my cousins killed in front of the KFC in Columbia, Maryland. They mistook him for a gang member and just executed him, walking down the street at noon, high school student. What I can tell you is this. Every time that this state or any other seeks the death penalty, they take $500,000 to $1 million that wouldn't be spent if they had sought life without the possibility of parole, and they spend it on taking somebody that we've already caught and killing them. If they had sought life without the possibility of parole, they would still have that money. And you could use that money to hire more cops to put them on the streets to catch the killers who are still out there. In poor communities, it is very common for 30 to 70% of the homicides to go unsolved in a year. In that context, the death penalty is an extravagance we can't afford. So it's morally bankrupt. We only use it for poor people. It's exorbitantly expensive. And it actually makes us less safe. But for me, as somebody who's fought the state of Georgia trying to save Troy Davis's life, an innocent man who I had to stand there outside the prison while they executed him, even though the former warden of that death row said stop, even though the former head of George Bush's FBI said stop, and they went and did it anyways. The only way that we will ever get Georgia to stop executing innocent people, and let's be clear, 1/3 of all the people who have been released from prison for serious crimes on grounds of innocence in Georgia came from the one county that Troy Davis came from, and all of them were poor black men. Is if we stop the death penalty first in California. So that's why I'm here today, is to encourage you to get involved, encourage you to pursue your dreams, and if you care about justice at all, encourage you to consider speaking up about this opportunity California has this fall to abolish the death penalty. With that, I'm happy to take any questions about anything President Obama, the White House, what it's like to scream at a member of Congress from this far away from his face. Do something very wrong. Whatever you want to talk about. Yes, sir.
Sir, I just have a question on the policy of prison reform itself, just the large issue.
Yeah.
I'm not as well informed, obviously, as you are on this issue, but would it be covering up the issue to instead change the spending and merely cut down how many people we put into prison? I remember there were several acts, maybe a few years ago, or continuously, where individuals would bring down more inmates out of the prison system and into county systems. I remember that. And is this covering up the issue? Or is there a deeper moral issue that we should tackle within the communities themselves that can prevent the prison industry from growing?
Well, there's actually a deeper moral issue in the justice system itself. You take the issue of crack, for instance, right? When people, you say like crackhead, crack addict, a lot of people think of a black person or a brown person. Now that meets the prosecution patterns. 85% of the people locked up for using crack in our country are black, but only 15% of the people who use it. 65% of the people who use it are white, but only 5% of the people locked up for using it are white.
So it becomes a prioritization.
Well, it becomes an issue of we have two different drug policies. We have one for rich people and for white people who are allowed basically to go to rehab. We have one for poor people and for black people, which is that you go to prison. Now, when you send somebody to prison, increasingly the people sent to prison these days are women. Single moms are sort of the fastest growing cohort. The kids go to foster care. So you've taken a situation that for the largest portion of crack users you're willing to solve with rehab, focused on a minority, sent them to prison. You're paying $50 grand a year to send them to prison. Plus, you have their lost wages. Plus, then you're paying tens of thousands of dollars to keep the kids in foster care. Now those kids are more likely to go to prison because their families have been broken up. That's the moral crisis that we have to get to. We as a country think that we can solve basically every tough problem with incarceration. In the world, there are 7 million prisoners. In the world. There are 2 million in this country. We are 5 times more likely to incarcerate than most Western countries. We don't just have the most incarcerated black folks on the planet, we have the most incarcerated white folks on the planet. And at some point, we as citizens of this country have to admit that our neighbors aren't 5 times more evil than the average person on earth. And that maybe we as a country, a great beacon of freedom in this world, have made a very grave mistake in how we actually operate our justice system. Thank you for your question. All right, thank you very much.
Celebration Club lunch today, room 3.
Sophomores, don't forget to meet in the music room after this break.
Oh, Taylor, will you go to the Valentine's dance with me?
You're so beautiful and amazing. I think of you all the time.
By the way, the Valentine's dance is next Friday. You should all come. The best DJ in the world.
And so will you please go with me?
That's cute. Freshman. Maybe if you were more like Aaron.
What?
So Valentine's Dance is next Friday, February 10th, from 8 to 11 in the York Library. We have a pro DJ named Brett Cano. He's been DJing for many years. Next is class competition. The class who has the most people who go gets a free ice cream party.
This is the worst Valentine's dance of my life.
Meet in front of the gym.
Announcement, shout them out.
All the Kirkwood people need to be outside. Kirkwood people outside. Get outside.
Oh, and boys soccer, 145. Last thing, candy grabs at lunch next week, Monday through Thursday.